Do you ever feel like meditation is just not for you? Do you ever try to meditate and your brain starts acting like an unsupervised 6-year-old at an amusement park? Do you find yourself going down the spiral and thinking something has to be wrong with me because I can't get meditation to work? Well, then you're in the right place, and today I want to talk about that. And of course, I have some alternative practices for your consideration that are just as good, if not better, than meditation. Hello and welcome to Torches, Yoga and Mindfulness. I'm Lauren and I'll be your coach. If you're curious about mindfulness, healing, and practical habits that actually work, you're in the right place. Here we focus on simple but powerful practices grounded in ancient wisdom and modern science to care for both your mind and body. So go ahead, hit that like and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. I think the struggle to sit down for meditation is something that a lot of us find frustrating, even for folks who genuinely want to practice. But before we get too far into this, the first thing I want to mention to you is, do you remember mindfulness skill number 2? We talked about it last year. If you said compassion, you are absolutely correct. So, as your coach, my first piece of advice on overcoming meditation struggle is to be kind to yourself. Be gentle. Just because it looks like a simple, low impact activity doesn't mean it is. There is more to it than just sitting in one place. And like everything else we talk about here, it's a practice, which means we have to work at it to get better. So many people come to mindfulness already feeling like they're behind. Like calm is something they're supposed to be good at by now, or meditation is just another task on the list of things that they should be doing. If that's how meditation has felt for you, no wonder it's not working. But meditation looks different for different people because our nervous systems are different. Different histories, different stress loads, and different capacities for stillness. Mindfulness isn't a performance or a punishment. And it's not about doing more, it's about doing differently. Remembering to come back to ourselves, back to our bodies, and back to the present moment. So, today, instead of forcing yourself to sit still and spiral or logic your way through frustration, I want to share 6 calming practices that work with your physiology. And there is no complex process or concept because our bodies already know how to respond to them. They can almost feel like cheat codes, like you've stumbled onto something, onto some secret or shortcut. But really, it's not a life hack at all. It's just biology doing what it's designed to do. Most of us were simply never taught how to work with our internal systems. Our schooling trains us to navigate the external world, how to think, how to analyze, how to produce, and how to perform. And that's important. But when we add in an understanding of our inner landscape, our nervous system, our body, our breath, we don't just cope better. We start to access more ease, more agency, and a deeper sense of peace. Without further ado, let's get into the practices and the science behind them. Practice number 1 is gentle movement. For you, this might be yoga, tai chi, or mobility exercises, or just some slow, intuitive movement. I don't mean you can't get your rigorous workout in, but make sure that gentle movement is part of your practice. Our bodies respond to mindful movement in such a powerful way. Our nervous system is constantly receiving feedback from our muscles and joints. That's called proprioception, and it tells our brains where we are in space. When movement is slow and rhythmic and intentional, that feedback becomes more organized instead of overwhelming. It tells the brain, I'm here, I'm contained, and I'm not under immediate threat. Gentle movement also stimulates our vagus nerve through coordinated breath and motion. The vagus nerve plays a major role in regulating our heart rate, digestion, and our emotional resilience. And importantly, movement helps to discharge stored stress. It really does. When stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, when they're released and they spike and rush through our body, but they're not completed through action, they linger in our bodies. Gentle movement gives them somewhere to go. So if sitting still feels like too much, Your calm may be waiting behind some motion, not because you're doing mindfulness wrong, but because your body needs to move before it can rest. All right, for practice number 2, we have walking. I know. You already knew this one was going to be on the list, and it is different than gentle movement. Walking is one of the most effective regulation tools we have, and it works on multiple levels. First, walking creates bilateral stimulation. We've talked about that with tapping before. But each step alternates the side of the body, which helps regulate communication between the left and right hemispheres of the brain. This supports emotional processing and it reduces rumination. Second, walking naturally organizes the breathing. If you gently lengthen the exhale, even just by one step, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system. That longer exhale sends a signal to your brainstem that says, we're not running, we can slow down. And third, walking engages our visual system. Your eyes naturally scan the environment, which reduces hypervigilance and pulls our attention away from the internal loops of worry. This is why a mindful walk often feels calming, even when your thoughts don't stop. Our body is doing the work for us. Meditation doesn't always look like sitting with closed eyes. Sometimes it looks like putting one foot in front of the other and letting your nervous system remember its rhythm. Okay, practice number 3 is one of my go-tos when I'm just like out and about in the world, maybe running errands or just handling some business. So this practice is powerful because it speaks the language of the nervous system directly. When we're stressed, our muscles stay partially contracted. This is called chronic muscular guarding, and your brain reads it as a sign that danger is ongoing. So the practice is progressive muscle relaxation, and it works by creating contrast. You intentionally tense a muscle and then release it. That release sends a clear signal up the sensory pathways to the brain that says, this is what safe feels like. This process helps to reset muscle spindle fibers and reduces baseline tension throughout our entire body. It also increases interoceptive awareness. That's our ability to sense internal states, which is a key skill in emotional regulation. So, when you tense and release your feet, your thighs, your abdomen, your fists, your shoulders, you're not just relaxing muscles. And like I said, this is one of my go-tos while I'm out in the world, going about my day-to-day whenever it can seem hectic. Whether I'm sitting at my desk, standing in line somewhere, or really anytime I start to feel impatient, anxious, or even judgmental. I start at my feet and I work my way up, kind of like our body scan. But this time I'm clenching and tensing each area and breathing deeply into its release. And for many people, this feels more accessible than meditation because it's concrete. The body leads and the mind follows. Over time, it teaches our nervous system how to downshift. All right, coming into practice number 4, we are talking about visualization. Visualization works because the brain actually doesn't clearly distinguish between imagined sensory experiences and real ones. So when we vividly imagine a place that feels safe, our brains activate similarly the same neural pathways as if we were actually there. Our heart rate will slow down, the muscle tension starts to decrease, and the stress hormones start to drop. Visualization also engages the prefrontal cortex. Got Misty here today with us. Our prefrontal cortex is here in this front region that sits right behind our forehead. It's responsible for regulation, our perspective, and making meaning of things. When this area is online and engaged, the amygdala, our fear center here in the center, down in here, that's our threat detector, it becomes less reactive. The key is the sensory detail. If you're picturing serenity or a place of calm, for me, I picture a mountainside cabin. But don't just look at it like it's a painting on the wall at a hotel. Experience it. Imagine the temperature of the place on your skin. For me, when I start with an approach to my cabin, I can hear the crunch of the gravel under my feet as I walk up to the house. I feel the old wood of the porch steps give just slightly from old age as I step onto them. I see the beautiful old wood grain of the door and the embellishments of the doorknob as I come to the door to step in. The temperature changes and it gets warm as I walk in from a small glowing fire across the room. The key is not just seeing the place, but feeling it, hearing sounds, noticing scents and textures. So, just by visualizing, we are switching gears from reacting out of this fear based center to being able to respond with intention. And this isn't escapism, it's nervous system training. We're giving our brains a lived experience of safety and calm that it can reference later when things feel hard. All right, moving on to practice number 5, grounding. So, stress pulls us out of the present moment. Anxiety is our mind living in the future, and rumination keeps us in the past. But grounding works so well because it brings our awareness back to the now, and our nervous system responds strongly to that in a very good way. When we notice physical sensations or engage our senses, we activate brain regions associated with present moment awareness, and that reduces activity in the amygdala. This is why simple practices like a body scan or naming sensory input can quickly reduce emotional intensity. Remember, the chemical reaction in our brain, that is our emotions, it's only meant to last 90 seconds. That's all the time it takes for the chemical reaction to engage, elevate, and recede, unless we feed into it, unless we start to identify with it. And really, that because it becomes its own form of visualization, just in a bad way. Because while visualization can work for us, conjuring negative experiences trains our nervous systems to live in that stress state more regularly or even as a default. When a thought arises that brings a heavy emotion, if we notice the thought instead of feeding it with another, and if we ground into our body or our breath, we interrupt the cycle and we can stay in our power. Grounding isn't just trying to feel better, we're helping our system realize where it really is. Okay, friend, last but certainly not least is practice number 6 is another one that is going to help anchor our awareness back to the present, and that is hands-on tasks. This can be something maybe crafty and creative you do with your hands, or it could be something more functional and practical, like simple chores. Hands-on tasks calm the nervous system through repetition, sensory engagement, and a sense of completion. So, yeah, really, go wash the dishes, fold the laundry, dust, or create that painting or drawing that you've been thinking about for months. Repetitive movement reduces cognitive load, meaning our brain doesn't have to juggle as much information. Sensory input anchors attention to the body. Do you remember the story of the ancient Greek mathematician Archimedes? He's the one that discovered water displacement and solved a volume question. I'm no mathematician, but he would regularly, intentionally go to these public bathhouses that they had to help him clear his mind when he was stuck on a problem. So he was grounding into the moment, into the sensations of the bath, and getting out of the spirals of thought. His story is the perfect example of how, when we step back from the thoughts, observe them, and allow our attention to rest in reality in the present moment, it's now not just a regulation thing. We create space. And in that space is where we find inspiration, creativity, and ourselves. And there's more benefits. Completing a task releases dopamine in small, steady amounts, reinforcing a sense of competence and stability. That's our self trust. Cooking, painting, playing with pets, it's all very deeply grounding when done mindfully. Not rushing, not multitasking, just present. Okay, I know I said there were 6 practices, but this list just kind of feels incomplete. So, bonus. Gratitude, practice number 7, bonus. I don't mean forcing positivity type of way. I've literally been there where I'm crying my eyes out, soaking a page with tears as I wrote down the things that were good. And they were tiny things, nothing profound. I was grateful to be able to get a drink of water when I was thirsty. I was glad to have the clothes on my back, and any other clothes I had in my closet were just a bonus. Simple things. And it wasn't just a way for me to bypass the pain I was feeling at the time or a mindless distraction. When practiced intentionally, gratitude is a powerful way to regulate the nervous system. When we bring our attention to something we genuinely appreciate or something even neutral and steady, our brains begin to shift out of the threat scanning. And neuroscience shows that gratitude activates the prefrontal cortex and increases dopamine and serotonin, which are neurotransmitters in our brain that carry messages of motivation, connection, and emotional regulation. At the same time, it also reduces the activity in the amygdala. Basically, gratitude shifts us from what is wrong to what is here actually supporting me. And while, yes, I suppose you can practice gratitude while sitting still with your eyes closed, maybe listening to some drums or frequencies, but you can also practice it by sharing it with others or jotting it down in a gratitude journal. And double bonus, if you take a moment to look around your environment and you find something there that you appreciate, like sometimes when I'm out in my backyard and I see like a cool hawk or an owl, or just notice all the colors that make up the world around me, I'll say out loud, "I'm thankful for your visit, bird." Or, "It's so wonderful to see all the colors and textures of the world." But the double bonus is now you have added grounding along with your gratitude. And you can really add gratitude to pretty much everything. Washing the dishes, I'm grateful to have had the meals to eat from them and the resources on hand to clean them. Walking, I'm grateful for my body that carries me every step of the way. If you struggle to start, or even just for like an outline for a regular practice, try this. Name one thing your body is doing for you right now. Name one thing in your environment that feels steady or familiar. And one small a moment from today that felt more ease, maybe needed a little less effort. Maybe that looks like a deep breath, warm water, a nearby pet companion, or a meal that nourished you. Gratitude works best when it's specific and sensory, not abstract, like "I'm grateful for my life," but instead, "I'm grateful for the way that the sun streamed through the windows this morning." This kind of gratitude doesn't deny difficulty, it creates balance. It reminds our nervous systems that even inside hard seasons, there are signals of safety and support. And over time, practicing gratitude regularly strengthens neural pathways associated with resilience, making it easier to access calm when life feels heavy. Okay, the thread that runs through all of these practices is that mindfulness is not about fixing yourself, but honoring yourself. Practices don't have to be profound, big gestures to work. These 7 simple practices are powerful because they are physiologically aligned: mind, body, and spirit. They meet our nervous system where it's at instead of telling it that it should be somewhere else. The biggest struggle in mindfulness is remembering to practice. We forget to pause, we forget to come back to the body, we forget that care doesn't have to be earned. But that's okay. Every time we do remember, we interrupt the autopilot and strengthen those pathways back to calm. If you only reach for these practices when you're overwhelmed, they will feel harder to access. But if you weave them into your days, your nervous system learns them as familiar pathways. Then calm becomes something we can return to and not something we have to chase. Like I always say, all this doesn't mean that if you're going to forego a seated meditation practice, that you have to do all of these other practices each day. Find a few that feel right and work for you and stick to those. Help yourself create the habit of practicing by anchoring them to your normal routine. A morning shower means grounding in a body scan. Washing the dishes is a trigger to move with intention, noticing the sensory experience. I would also encourage you, of course, to keep an open mind about meditation. Remember mindfulness skill number 3, curiosity. Don't box yourself in saying, I'm just not the type that can meditate. There isn't just one type of person that can meditate. And maybe after you've spent some time with one of these practices or a couple of them that you choose, give seated meditation another try and see if it doesn't feel different for you. And really, when it comes down to it, meditation looks different for different people. All right, my friend, thank you so much for sharing a piece of your day with me. Let me know in the comments below which practice you will be working into your day to day. Stay present, stay kind to yourself, and I will see you soon. Oops.